The news day continues here on One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. The Commission on Elections has confirmed the extension given to the camp of Bongbong Marcos to answer the first petition lodged against his presidential bid. In a tweet, Comelec spokesperson James Jimenez said the poll body's second division has approved an extension of 5 days for the Marcos camp to submit their reply. The deadline was initially set this past Tuesday, November 16. But since the new deadline will fall on a Sunday, Jimenez says the final day for the Marcos camp to submit their reply will be moved to Monday, November 22. Meanwhile, the Marcos camp is downplaying the new disqualification petition, calling it nothing more than a cheap political gimmick. Faith Del Mundo with the report.
The dictator's son does not deserve to sit in the highest position in the land. This is the firm statement of some martial law victims as well as religious and youth right advocates as they filed a petition against the presidential bid of Ferdinand Marcos Jr. The petition filed is already the third one calling for the disqualification of BBM COC. It was filed by Karma, or the Campaign Against the Return of the Marcoses, and martial law.
And wishes to reclaim the presidency on wings of the perversion of history and all the lies, lahat ng kasinungalingan with which the Marcoses have corrupted the minds of generations of Filipinos. Sa kanyang certificate of candidacy,
based on Sections 45, 50, and Section 253C of the National Internal Revenue Code, any public officer or employee convicted and penalized under the NIRC is given a penalty of dismissal in government, perpetual disqualification from public office, and from participating in an election even as a voter.
He is also disqualified because 3 years is more than enough time for you to be disqualified under the election code. Also, beyond that, you have our petition now, straight disqualification for a violation of the tax code, which calls for a disqualification for perpetual disqualification.
But even if Marcos Jr. was convicted during the 90s for not filing his ITR, he managed to win a seat at the Senate and even run as vice president. The petitioners said they also want to correct historical revisionism and the public's tendency to forget the atrocities caused by the Marcos family.
Sana po, Comelec was more vigilant sana because hindi naman po ministerial lang yung kanilang trabaho. They can look beyond the filing of the candidacy, and hopefully, kasi naman po yung sinasabi namin tong perpetual disqualification is no longer a question of fact. No, it is not something for discretion to look at compared to moral turpitude, which the Supreme Court has the final say, which crime or if the crime has moral turpitude. Dito po, wala na pong discussion or discretion dito. Kailangan lang po, it's a fact that he has been convicted.
Like the first two petitions, the one filed by Karma also pointed out a misrepresentation on his certificate of candidacy.
Marcos Jr. answered one question with one big fat lie. Asked whether he was ever found liable for an offense which carries with it the accessory penalty of perpetual disqualification to hold public office, which has become final and executory, he replied, no, hindi.
Former Bayan Muna Representative Satur Ocampo says Marcos Jr.'s presence in Philippine politics is an attempt at revising history.
Nilalason ang kaisipan ng mga botante, lalo na yung mga kabataan, para itago yung mga krimen panahon ng diktadurang Marcos.
In a statement, Marcos spokesperson Attorney Vic Rodriguez said that the saga of those pushing for gutter politics continues with this petition. Rodriguez said that these are just cheap political gimmicks. The camp insists that the Comelec has no jurisdiction to modify the decision of the Court of Appeals. For News 5, Faith Del Mundo, we are One News.
And Metro Manila could be downgraded to Alert Level 1 by December, according to the OCTA Research Group. Research fellow Guido David said the NCR's positivity rate is currently at 3%, well within the 5% threshold set by the World Health Organization. Meanwhile, the country's weekly average cases are now at 1,600, 27% lower compared to the previous week. With this downtrend, OCTA is hoping for happier holidays this year.
Nakikita natin bumababa pa yung risk natin, yung risk level natin sa Metro Manila. Pero having said that, syempre yung mga ibang guidelines, syempre magandang ipag-aralan natin within yung alert level 1 tungkol sa mga bata. The end of November, hindi pa natin sigurado kung magpa-plateau tayo sa 1,000 or patuloy pang bumaba yan. Sana patuloy pang bumaba, baka by December, by Christmas nasa mga 500 na lang.
We'll be back with more stories after this quick break. Keep it here on One News. Still watching One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. The Health Department reported almost 1,300 new COVID-19 cases on Thursday. This brings the total caseload to 2.82 million, 23,100 of which are still active. 38 duplicates were removed from the total case count, 36 of which were recoveries. 305 people died of the virus in the past 24 hours, bringing the death toll to 46,400. The DOH said 278 cases previously tagged as recoveries have been reclassified as deaths after validation. Meanwhile, total recoveries are now at 2.75 million after more than 1,900 new survivors logged overnight. 3.4% of the 42,000 tests included in today's bulletin yielded positive results. U.S. pharmaceutical company Pfizer has signed a pact to allow generic drug manufacturers to produce cheaper versions of its COVID-19 pill. Let's find out more from this Bloomberg Quick Take.
Today, the Medicine Patent Pool MPP, which was created by Health Agency UNITED to increase access to medicine for low and middle-income countries, is announcing a voluntary license agreement for Pfizer COVID-19 oral antiviral treatment candidate, which is administered in combination with a low dose of ritonavir. Under the term of the head licensing agreement between Pfizer and MPP, selected generic medicine manufacturers worldwide that are granted the sub-licenses will be able to supply the drugs to 95 countries, covering up to approximately 53% of the world population. These include all low and lower middle-income countries.
License is very important because the drug is particularly suited for low and middle-income countries. It's easy to produce, it's an oral medicine, so it's potentially easy to take, and it doesn't need to be taken in a hospital setting. That means that, assuming it's approved, this could make a major contribution to saving lives in low and middle-income countries.
And here's a quick look at today's other top stories. Chinese Coast Guard vessels blocked and shot water cannons at 2 Philippine supply boats that were en route to transport goods to a military outpost in the Ayungin Shoal. Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Boy Locsin Jr. said no one was hurt during the incident, but that the resupply mission had to be aborted. Locsin spoke with Chinese Ambassador Huang Xilian and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Beijing to condemn and protest the incident. Metro Manila mayors are meeting tonight to discuss a uniform policy on whether or not to allow children outside under Alert Level 2. Recall that President Duterte urged mayors to implement an ordinance banning kids aged 12 and below from public areas. And the Commission on Higher Education has given the go signal for varsity teams to resume training, subject to health protocols. Schools have begun discussions on restarting collegiate games early next year. This is after the government okayed contact sports in areas under Alert Level 2. For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Masks on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I am Sean Yao. We are One News.